And let's welcome Mayor Frank Ferry.
I feel like I'm miles away from the crowd. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm used to being a teacher where I'm up actually with you guys walking around, so I feel a little displaced. I want to give you a quick background and tell you about myself, tell you some things that are going on, then obviously entertain questions. Generally, people want to know more about what pertains or what's important to them. The first is, everyone's asking me about my bowling injury. I'm going to tell you guys what happened. So we opened up a new trailhead last Friday. I think it was Friday, over on Magic Mountain. There's an old railroad bridge that goes over the river. And you can see it as you're driving down Magic Mountain off to the right. And it's an 1895 bridge which they brought in when the San Francisco Dam disaster happened. It was what they brought in order for there still to be north-south crossing of the river. And so we built a trailhead there for equestrian, for hikers, for runners, for cyclists. And it was exciting. There's probably a little over 100, 150 people there. And so I asked all the kids to come up and get a picture with the mayor and the city council. So we had about 15 kids come up. And of course, I get a bright idea. Let's have a race the mayor. So I said, okay, all you little kids are going to race the mayor, line up right here. And the city manager, Ken Polskim, says, Frank, remember liability. I said, hey guys, the city manager's worried about liability, so don't hurt yourselves. Everyone be careful. So I line them up, and I start backing up because my intent was to cheat. I mean, I knew right away that I had no chance unless I cheated. So I back up about 15 feet, and all these kids are all excited. And I said, hey, look, Disney sent Mickey Mouse. They all turn around. When they turn around, I yell, go. And I go to run, and I step on my feet, and I go about 20 feet, and I fall down hard. I mean, I thought I broke my wrist for sure. So my ego was bruised more than anything. The best part of it was the kids, because the mayor tried cheating, they're thinking, oh, game on. It's not like they stopped to see if I'm okay. I mean, these little suckers, they're running over me. They're running around me. And, of course, it was in front of about 50 video cameras. And about an hour later, I think the Signal.com had video of it. And so when you fall as mayor, your ego gets hurt more than anything else. I've been on the city council. This is going into my 15th year on the city council. So when I first started this, I had a 2-year-old son and I had a 5-year-old son. And I got on there specifically because there was no one on the council at that time that I thought represented parents that had young kids. Everyone had been in the community for such a long time. And what really motivated me was I worked at Nobel Middle School down in Northridge, and they were going to close Balboa Boulevard basically to all the Santa Clarita residents that wanted to cut through the old road to Balboa. And I got really frustrated because at the same time, about a few years past, the city council had voted down that Caltrans was going to build the Cross Valley Connector. The state was coming in and they were going to spend $110 million on almost exactly the Cross Valley Connector we had today. And the city council voted 4-1 against it. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what are they thinking? I mean, there was only going to be growth in this area. It was free money per se, that it wasn't something the residents had to pay. And it just seemed short-sighted in connection with the growth of what looked to come. So now we have the Cross Valley Connector, which we're all very proud of because it really alleviated traffic on Soledad and other roads. It cost us almost $240 million. So the exact same road, more than 15 years later, more than doubled in cost. So I got on the council, and sort of background for me, I was at Valencia High School for 8 years. I was at Saugus High School, where I was the ASB director. I was at Saugus High School for 4 years as an assistant principal. My claim to fame there was, I flew in the gym as a tooth fairy, 3 stories high in a little tutu outfit, and I built the big S on the mountain. Other than that, everyone else probably doesn't remember a darn thing I did. So other than the tooth fairy and that, they remember. And then actually I was asked to come back to my alma mater. I graduated from Bishop Alemany in 1983. And this is going into my 7th year at Alemany High School, which is located right when the 405 and the 5 split, across from Holy Cross Hospital. Right, we're on the same property as the San Fernando Cemetery. So I've been there now for 6 years, starting my 7th year, which it's nice when you can go back to your alma mater. I have 2 beautiful sons. I have a son, Nick, He's a junior in college at Springfield College, which is about an hour and a half outside of Boston. He was a big volleyball player at Valencia High School. He was the Santa Clarita Valley MVP for volleyball, and he's been first-team All-American last year, and this year they won the national championship in volleyball. Went back to watch that. And then I have a wonderful son, Jacob. Jake is a senior next year at Valencia High School, and so he's excited to go off to the University of Oregon, where he's always wanted to go. That's where his uncle went, played football there, and was a captain. And so now he wants to continue the Duck tradition. So recently got engaged this past February. I got engaged to Dr. Maury Rahani. Dr. Rahani is, many of you might remember Dr. Eakins. Dr. Eakins had a practice for 45 years right where Mount Tasia is. There's a 2-story building around the corner at Center Point in Golden Triangle. Professional center. And so Dr. Rahani bought that practice 3 years ago from Dr. Eakins, who is my dentist. And she also has a big practice down in Pasadena. So the best call of my life was over a year ago, and my son said, "Dad, they won't do my teeth unless someone signs the paperwork." And I said, "Oh, I'll call your mom." He said, "Mom can't. She's out of town." So I drive there, and I sign the paperwork, and I said, "Hey, how about a teeth cleaning?" And I go in there to get my teeth cleaned, and they said, "You have a new dentist." I said, "I don't want a new dentist." And they're saying, no, give her a chance. She's great. I said, "No, I do not want a new dentist. I want the old guy. I like the old guy." And then so the hygienist, who I've known 20 years, Kathy, she says, "Frank, she's smoking hot." I said, "I don't want a smoking hot dentist. I don't need any good-looking woman looking at my mouth when you're. So she walks in. I don't even look at her. I'm like, "Where did you go to school? How long have you been practicing dentistry? What kind of, 20 minutes I grilled her, all right? Sort of what you're going to do to me here in about 20 minutes. Grilling me, all right? And so she left and never looked at my exam. She never looked at my mouth because I totally flustered her. She said in 15 years, no one's ever done that to her coming in a room as a new dentist. And so I had to come back the next day or a couple days later and ended up talking for 3 hours. And I'm happily going to get married. She's a wonderful woman, so I hope you get a chance to meet her. So,
did you ever get your dental exam?
I did get my dental exam, but I also had to switch dentists because as soon as I realized, I'm like, wow, this is, my hygienist is right. This is an intelligent, beautiful woman. So I went to another dentist who's her partner, who also was an alimony parent. So it worked out well. Some things going on in Canyon Country, which I wanted to make sure you guys, we just had the high-speed rail meeting. I know Al said that he's going to bring it up. Basically, the state, we passed a proposition a few years back where we were going to spend, I want to say, was it $39 million? The numbers could be off. $39 million, $49 million to build a high-speed rail. Basically, we didn't know the alignment. So the idea was you were going to be able to go from LA County up to San Francisco, Sacramento in about 2.5 hours. A flight is about an hour. To drive, it's about 6 hours. Over the course of, and the council and all communities, the concept we all agreed or thought that it was a good concept based on Burbank Airport, LAX being impacted, gas prices rising, the rising costs of airlines. Well, once the plans started coming out, and once they started choosing alignments, so originally they said, okay, maybe we'll go up the 5 corridor through the pass. And then they decided, no, we're going to take the 14 freeway up and include Palmdale, Lancaster, because they were thinking of making a regional airport there that would help support as they go up to Bakersfield and then on up to Sacramento and San Francisco. Well, the council learned that the actual alignment they were going to do was going to take out multiple homes in Canyon Country as well as a church, not to mention have severe impact in our community when it comes to noise and sound vibrations, as well as issues regarding just general quality of life. So we had a meeting over here at Sulphur Springs Elementary School. It was well attended by Canyon Country residents. And basically, the council came up with really a 2-pronged approach. The first prong approach was to write a letter. We were encouraged and we were told that the new director of the High Speed Rail Authority would look to our concerns and look to see how there can be mitigation. And for us, if they would just continue the tunneling would take away most of the sound, the vibrations, and the effect that we would have within our residents. I think the cost in order to do that was 500 million. Does that sound right? Based on what the guy said, I think it was about 500 million. So we're writing that letter, and we're looking to see where that goes. The second approach was there's a committee that was formed, an advisory committee, that's now looking at litigation along with other communities that have the same issue. And we agreed that we need to participate that and look at our options. So if they ignore the letter and they don't listen to our residents, we'll be ready for other options. So that's sort of where we're at now. That letter's being composed. How are you, Eileen? I didn't see you in the front there. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. So that's where we're the high-speed rail. The other issue is CMEX. Obviously, CMEX is a huge quality of life issue for all Santa Claritans, but specifically here on the east side. The city definitely, if there's one thing I would hope most people will not be critical, and that is the commitment the city's made towards CMEX. I mean, we've put tens of millions of dollars into purchasing property, into litigation, into lobbyist consultants, pushing a little back on our own representation at the federal level, saying, hey, do more for us. And CMEX right now, we did not extend the truce negotiation, but we are in verbal negotiations saying, hey, let's make sure that we don't throw out a nuclear, MAD, mutual assured destruction, where if you're going to move forward, we're going to move forward just as hard. So CMEX right now, we're hoping, as always, to be able to protect our quality of life, to move that project. There are other areas that want the aggregate. They do want the business. For us, it would be devastating. Between the explosions, between the quality of air, between the number of trucks that are going to come off the freeway on the 14, it just isn't something we want for a community, and we're vigilant in fighting that. Something that I'm proud of, which you might not be aware, and I say pride because we are one of the safest community cities, not only in the state, but nationally. And I always felt, okay, there's an issue here where it's almost like someone would call and say, you know, Councilmember Ferry, Councilman Keller, there was a robbery or there was some type of crime. And it was almost at the point like, well, was it north of Plum, was it north of Plum, between Plum and the top of the hill, or was it south by both? Because it came down to like, are you 20 feet into the city? Are you 20 feet outside the city? And it almost became a thing where, as a valley, realistically, you're only as safe as you are your neighbors. And so one of the issues that I saw over years and years was Jake's Way. When the developers, the Palmers, developed Jake's Way and what they developed in the river, it was all about density, put a lot of people in a small space, very little parking, didn't put the stuff in for the kids. You don't see the trails, you don't see parks, you don't see the pools you should have there. And so you put a lot of people in a small area, and it became an area where you definitely had more issues happening for our local sheriff department. So I finally got to the point with the city manager and with the other council members, and we said, look, we need to annex in Jake's Way. And right away people were like, well, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to take on problems? Well, the reality is I have a lot of confidence in our sheriff's department that we contract for. I have a lot of confidence in our council and our staff, where if we're in control of Jake's Way, we can put the resources in to change and make it better and to improve it. And so rather than have a false number where, across the street, it's not a city crime, but over in Jake's Way, it's not in our numbers, I said, that's a joke. Let's get rid of it. So right now, Jake's Way and all the areas looking to be annexed in, and just like we added to our general budget this year, 2 new deputies, I really think that we're motivated to make sure that that becomes a jewel in our community, as well as the rest of the community we want safe. So that's coming up. 2 weeks ago, we opened up 2 new fire stations here on the east side, for making a total of 3 new fire stations. That's exciting only because it's the only 3 stations opened up in the county over the course of the last few years. So we are trying to keep up with the need, especially with the rural area, the fire danger we get always from the Los Angeles forest. The Canyon Country Community Center, I thought was going to be open sooner. We're pushed back to now end of the year this year. That's up by Flying Tiger. It's going to be great, similar to our New Hall Community Center. It's going to be excellent for our kids, give them something to do. Have a lot of the reasons we have issues are adults in Canyon Country and across the rest of Santa Clarita have 2 income earning parents. So when both parents are working, kids have no adult mentorship to watch over and to see what they're doing. So the advantage of having that community center there is parents have the knowledge and the goodwill feeling. They know that the kid could show up to the community center and get involved in local programs, have adult mentorship, and can be watched. And anytime you have adults watching over kids, that's a positive thing. The other thing that's coming up, which is very exciting for Canyon Country, is the Golden Valley Ranch project, or the Golden Valley, I don't know if it's shopping center, I don't know what the plaza. That's something which I personally, as the mayor, when that came up to the city, I lost. Okay, I was the one yes vote, and there were 4 no votes. And it was going back to the county, and it was going to get approved. And my issue was, I said, look, we're going to get 1,000 acres of open space. We're going to get development that we control, and we're going to bring in a shopping center for the east side, which is needed. Because in my head, the quality of life for Canyon Country residents, you were looking at an hour drive at peak hours to get over to a Target over on McBean. You were getting over to the mall, going over to camp. I mean, it got to the point where it was almost a joke. I'm like, it was costing you $10 in gas for $5 of underwear. You know what I'm saying? That's a joke. So I said, we need to do our own shopping center. It's of quality here. I lost. It was a 1-4 vote. And then it came back because one of the council members wanted to kill it more. Sometimes we as council members are not happy. We kill a project, but it's not to our suffice. So we want to really beat it down a little. Well, by bringing it back, it gave me the opening to try again. And we ended up winning 4-1. And the advantage of is now, you do have a Kohl's, you do have a Target, you do have some new eateries, Lowe's. We're starting to get some new restaurants. I mean, there's a few there. But it also caused an issue, and that was Golden Valley off-ramp is clearly impacted. The good thing is we are going to start construction to widen that bridge. It's very much needed, and that will start happening. The other things, obviously, you're aware of the renovation of Joanne Darcy Library. I did go and visit Joanne about 4 months ago. I sat with her for about 3 hours and reminisced and with the city manager, and so it was nice to see her. And then obviously, as a general Canyon Country, it's a unique area because it was not built by one developer. It was built by, I think it's up to 22 developers. And so the 22 developers built what was best for them in the county at the time. So many times, Canyon Country residents look to the Paseos, they look to schools right next to the park, so they look to what Newhall Land did as a master plan since 1965. And Newhall Land, they really did stick to their master plan even today since 1965. And so over there from Newhall all the way up to Tesoro de Valle on the west side, it looks different. And so as a Canyon Country resident, the impression is, well, what's the city doing? They're spending all their money on the west side. And so I know when we became a city in 1987, we did a study, and there was almost $1 billion, $900 million in infrastructure improvements that we had to do in order to bring the city up to what it should have been or what developers should have been required to do. So even things like along Soledad, from Sierra Highway all the way down, it costs us $1 million a mile just to bury all the telephone lines. It costs money. The sign ordinance, I mean, it used to be just blighted down Soledad. So there's things that today you don't notice, but over a course of years have improved the quality of life, which we have now in Canyon Country. I really can talk forever. I don't know how long I have been talking, but I know I'd rather actually address the things that maybe are concerns of yours and maybe answer questions rather than talk forever, because as a teacher, you give me a microphone, I'm going. It's full speed. So, excuse me.
I just want to say thank you for the trailheads. I'm part of the mountain bike community, and that means a lot to us. We're kind of being ousted because supposedly we're a threat to equestrians, so it's really nice for you to kind of stick up for that, especially with the trailheads that are coming up. But on a side note, in the residents, I do have a question.
Sure.
There's some homes, especially mine, in the North Oaks area that have what we call extended driveways that were put in prior to the city being incorporated in 1987. Now they're being called external walkways, and we're no longer allowed to park on them because they are considered a walkway. When did this ordinance change? I don't remember seeing anything in any of the news, any city council meetings. It's just kind of odd that all of a sudden I'm no longer allowed to park on my driveway because the city has decided it's a walkway.
I know the city, it was one of the things they actually briefed me on. They said that they went and spoke to people and asked them not to choose. I know what you're talking about, the extended driveway. Because the issue, at least what code enforcement is being told, a lot of people were parking on their lawns. They were parking on non-driveway areas. And I think also became the issue, they were blocking public right-of-ways on sidewalks. And so, that's the issue. So you may be the perfect resident or the perfect citizen that wasn't doing it, but for whatever reason, code enforcement's interesting. They don't go out and look for problems. Generally, they respond or react to what neighborhoods call them on. So somebody called code enforcement and said these extended driveways were becoming either a physical impairment to right-of-way or becoming a blight within a neighborhood. That's the other issue which is unique to Canyon Country, which other communities have. Most neighborhoods from Saugus to Valencia have a lot of HOAs. And over in Canyon Country, you don't have as many HOAs as you do in other areas of the community. And so code enforcement gets involved. And a lot of people choose Canyon Country because there are no HOAs. They don't want to be imposed upon where can you park, not park, where can you not paint your house. Like me, I want to paint my house, and my gate, I got painted the wrong color, and I got a letter I was going to lien on my house because of the color of my fence. So people choose that in Canyon Country. But this issue, the extended driveway, came from residents that said they wanted it. You're a resident, didn't want it, and then the staff, we sort of have to come into some balance.
Well, that's the problem is I have a 23-foot truck that I can't park in my 20-foot driveway because when Canyon Country was built, they didn't build their driveways long enough to accommodate this.
Right.
And this driveway was put in prior to the city council or to the city being incorporated, and we're the third owner since then. So it's kind of disheartening for the city to come and tell us. They're no longer telling us to rip it out. They're just saying, oh, well, you can't park in your own driveway. We've never blocked the sidewalk. We're just a very high profile because we're towards the corner. My concern is there's other housing tracts that have the same issue and it's been dropped. And now all of a sudden it's coming back up. It's very frustrating as a resident to see this constantly go away and then come back and then go away and then come back. We've been fighting it since pretty much the house was owned by my family since '94.
The city, I know, generally, you'll take an issue similar to what your issue is, and you could have 3 neighborhoods where we're able to go in and talk to neighbors, and in 2 of those areas, actually through discussion and through negotiation, it goes away, and in one area it won't because there's a few neighbors that keep calling and calling and calling. And so it becomes almost the Hatfield-McCoy issue within a neighborhood. What I'd like to do, if you don't mind, because for me, when I drive home, if you don't mind, if you just give me your address, I want to at least drive by so I can look at it. Okay? Other questions?
What is an extended driveway?
Yeah, why don't you, can you define?
Just a second.
The extended driveway was put in. It follows all the way up the side of our house to our front door. It was, excuse me, I'm talking. Thank you.
I have my hand up. I'm not talking to you. Jeez.
Guys,
I raised my hand.
everyone, I feel like I'm in a city council meeting. You'll talk, and then someone else can talk.
Thank you. Our extended driveway is not part of the actual driveway. It was put in where originally I believe a lawn was, and it was put in the late 70s. And what it is it actually, there was a drain out where the main comes in. It was actually for trailers parking when the house was purchased back in '94. So what it is when you see my house, you see the garage on one side, the front door, and next to that, in front of what a window is part of a slab that we park our 23-foot truck on. That was told was an extended driveway. We've been fighting the city for this since after '94. There was a Buick parked on it that was under a car cover. It was completely clean. The city we were told, if you don't move that, you're going to be ticketed. We're going to tow it. We were told that the sheriffs were actually going to come onto private property and tow that vehicle. Well, instead of fighting the city on that issue, we went ahead and just got rid of it. But since then, we've either parked a Honda, our little Trailblazer, and now our 23-foot truck. But if we park the truck in front of in front of the garage, it hangs into the sidewalk and it will cause a nuisance. So therefore, we park it on the side on this extended driveway. Does that help or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the hard part is, like you said, it was done before city and corporation.
Exactly.
And then if you go to do anything in your house, if you want to redo your bathroom, if you want to redo something, we then need a permit, which then makes your whole property have to go up to code, which becomes punitive.
Last summer had our roof redone, so we have had everything brought up to code.
Yep. I know. It's definitely a catch-22. I'm sorry.
Mayor Ferry, I would just like to comment that part of the problem is the definition of driveway. A driveway must lead to a garage, a carport, or an RV parking area. So when an area in the front yard is cemented over, it is not an extended driveway. It's a cemented front yard. And I think that's where the problem comes in. People don't have a clear definition of what a driveway is.
Yes.
No, it's working. Frank, I think a big part of this issue in North Oaks particularly is because driveways, when the track was new, some of the driveways, because the garage was turned where the garage door did not face the street.
Right.
Those driveways were poured over the whole area that would be considered the front setback or the front lawn. And then a smaller area in front of the garage was designated as the lawn. So we have a mixture of those. We have a mixture of areas that were permitted as a function of the county, where individuals have put carports in front of their house and have, let's say, the exact same configuration as the lady commenting, but has a carport over the top and were permitted. And then we have the situation where people have just poured a slab. So we have all those three different categories. And of course, at the time that they poured a slab, hardscape didn't require a permit. So those are the kind of balances that we're going to have to negotiate with code enforcement.
Hi. So I know you talked about incorporating new areas such as Jake's Way and posting new deputies to those areas. Have you thought about placing a separate substation for the sheriff's office in Canyon Country to help support these new deputy positions?
I know we did have a substation for a while where the Edwards Theater was, and it became the cost issue for the sheriff department. Definitely, I believe we're looking right now at a study on how we can improve our current sheriff station. Our sheriff station is completely inadequate space. I mean, we've expanded. You know where Ethan Allen is, the old Ethan Allen? We've taken over all those buildings and we made those where the detectives are. We have to look at how we're going to continue to expand with the valley expanding. So in my eyes, you're definitely going to look at having to have a substation over in the Canyon Country. I thought it was very successful at the time. There just wasn't the funding once the budget started going down.